Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is great. The book, not the movie. Well, if it is so great, Chinmay, then why do you want to fix it? Well, the start of the book is great, the end is incredible, the middle is where it falls off slightly. It started daringly different than the previous 3 books, with showing Voldemort in his parents' house, Harry leaving the Dursleys early to go to the Quidditch World Cup, and even after getting to Hogwarts, Quidditch being cancelled for the entire year and being replaced by the Triwizard Tournament. All of these changes were fresh, new and intriguing, especially the part where Harry was not allowed to participate in this tournament. And then he ended up participating in the tournament. I was fine with this. Shocked? Yes. I didn't think that they'll put him in that directly, but it obviously worked since the aftermath created one of the best angles of the entire book. Ron is seriously pissed off. I believe this had been building on for 3 books now. Right from the moment where Harry bought all the sweets from the lady in the train and Ron didn't have any money, it had all been Harry, Harry, Harry. He was the man, and Ron had always been his second. Except now, at least from his perspective, Harry had not even let him be that. He had entered into the tournament and not even let his best friend in on it. He pushed down Ron another rung on the ladder, and that's where he snapped. Absolutely loved this. What this allowed for is, for the first time in forever, the school was against Harry and he didn't have his best friend on his side to help him get through it neither. He had Hermione, and I love that their relationship was further explored into as well, and the conclusion was about as good as anyone could have written it. Hermione was fun, but she was no Ron. Also, speaking of, it actually gave Ron a bit of a unique character as well, finally trying to stand up and get away from Harry's shadow and trying to be his own man. Thus, you can imagine the part that I was not too thrilled about was when, after the first task, Ron completely gave up on all this and was like, "Oh shit, I forgot how good you were at flying, Harry. Wanna be friends again?" What? Now, I know that wasn't the reason, it was more along the lines of Ron realizing that Harry was quite close to danger and that fighting was pointless, but like I mentioned, it killed one of the more unique angles that Harry had gotten in 4 books to this point, and after they both became buddy-buddy again, nothing sort of happened in the book till the second task, because there was nothing to happen. Harry had overcome the odds, won the first task, got back his popularity, and Ron was back on his side again as well. There were no challenges left in his life till the second task. Thus, that's not the route we are going to take. So instead, in my version, I propose that after the first task, Hermione alone comes to congratulate Harry, and Harry thanks her because, obviously, she had provided immense support to him, staying up all night and teaching him the summoning charm. Hermione is glad, and she also mentions that she was sitting next to Ron the whole time, who looked visibly concerned and was wishing nothing but the best for Harry. Harry, however, turns her offer to make peace down, stating that if Ron is so worried about him, then maybe he should apologize for everything that he's put Harry through. Because remember, this fight wasn't a one-sided thing. Harry also bit back at Ron any opportunity that he got, and especially now, after he had escaped a goddamn dragon, when he was so full of confidence and adrenaline, it actually makes a lot of sense for him to be stubborn and cocky. This obviously infuriates Hermione, who states that maybe Harry is getting this competition and fame go to his head, and leaves. Harry is now alone. Again, something that we have never seen before. For every second that he had been in Hogwarts, he always had his 2 bozos always around him to take over any obstacle he faced. As fate would have it, for now till the second task, he didn't have any great obstacles, but he didn't have any friends alongside him neither. Instead of just handing Ron back to him like a toy that he couldn't play with for a while, I would rather keep building the tension between the two. One pretty easy and cheap way to do that is journalism, aka Rita Skeeter. Given that she is also pissed off at Harry because he's been treating her like the sewer rat that she is, in her next column she posts about Harry's triumph over the Horntail but throws in a curveball. Some Hogwarts students state that this plan was all too obvious, with one Ron Weasley stating, quote, "I'm not too surprised. Harry always gets carried by the best broom in every Quidditch game he plays. That's pretty much what we saw him doing here as well." Now, for one, that is 100% accurate. Harry, till now I'm only on the 5th book, has literally played in 2 Quidditch matches where he did not have the best broom and he lost one of them. The other he won because his opponent was Draco Malfoy. 2, of course Ron actually didn't say this. The aforementioned white-haired dark wizard did, since he's boys with Rita all along. However, fuming as their relationship is, the last thing this article is going to do is help things, as you might imagine. Also, with all this going on, you can do one thing with Harry that hasn't happened yet. Make him some new friends. Look, I understand having a small friend circle, okay? Losers recognize fellow losers, but he's 14. I don't think it is going to hurt if he can have a little closer of a relationship with another one of his peers, and the peer that I've chosen to take up this task is none other than one Mr. Neville Longbottom. Now, J.K. Rowling actually did explore into a bit of his character in the book as well, which was quite refreshing as it was unexpected, since the first book he's kind of been forgotten as the guy who forgets things. Thus, to see him know one of the 3 forbidden curses was shocking. Then to see him react to the spider being put under the Cruciatus curse was more so. Not only that, we got to know that Neville is actually good at something and he formed a nice little mentor-apprentice relationship with Moody. Thus, we're going to explore further along these same lines. Thus, one day Harry is at the library trying to figure out the second task and is reading a book about, I don't know, eggs, because he's stupid. Remember, Hermione was the clever one who gave him all the good ideas. Neville walks up to him and they engage in casual conversation. Neville complimenting his flying and expressing that he is rooting for him, and then Harry and him talk about how cool Moody is, even though he is a little bit creepy. This then leads to Harry remembering what had happened in class, and he asks Neville, "Do you like spiders?" "No," Neville responds. "Why would you ask that?" "No, it's just, you seemed pretty disturbed when Moody put the Cruciatus curse on the spider as it was writhing in pain." Neville keeps quiet and breaks eye contact with Harry. Then he slowly says, "Yeah, I guess I do like spiders then." Before this can go any further, we'll have Cedric break them up. Obviously disturbed by the topic of conversation, Neville leaves the two alone, and here Cedric can repay Harry back by letting him on one of the second task clue. However, once Harry does figure out that he'll have to breathe underwater for an hour, of course he grows more panicky and is forced to spend more time in the library, where of course he meets Neville again. They both smile at each other and Neville notices that Harry is reading a book on human transfiguration. Upon inspecting what's up, Harry tells him about the task, and the solution that he has come up with is to transfigure himself into an aquatic animal. Neville then replies, "Maybe if I still had Trevor, I could still help you a bit." Trevor was his toad, by the way. "Are you sure that you can transfigure correctly, though?" "Yeah," Harry says, poring over his book. "I probably wasn't paying attention when McGonagall taught human transfiguration in class." "McGonagall will teach human transfiguration in 2 years," Neville informs him. "Oh," Harry says, looking up at him. "Right. It's just that..." He hangs his head a bit and smiles. Hermione generally knows these things in our group. I mean, our former group. The smile on Harry's face fades away. I wish there was something I could do," Neville says kindly. "Thanks, Neville. You're a good friend." Here is where Neville cracks. "I don't like spiders." "Sorry, what?" "That day, in the Defense Against the Dark Arts class, I flinched at the Cruciatus curse because that's the curse that is binding my parents." And then Neville explains his entire family situation to Harry because it just makes more sense to be revealed by him instead of in a random conversation with Dumbledore. He explains about his parents and about how they're at the hospital for magic maladies and injuries, which is why he was primarily raised by his grandmother. Again, filling Neville with more character work. He was initially not ready to share with anyone what he's going through, but when he saw that Harry valued him, he is a 14-year-old boy at the end of the day with a lot that he is carrying around on his chest. Of course he's going to vent to any of his peers that are going to listen, and Harry in this situation was the first who made him feel like he wasn't just the guy who forgets a lot. That being said, after all this is said and done, Neville is the guy who forgets a lot, and he finally remembers something crucial that he has forgotten. He can help Harry, and thus he tips him about the gillyweed because yes, that also makes infinitely more sense than just Dobby sealing it under Snape's nose from out of nowhere. Yeah, hate to say it, but this one thing, the movie did better than the book. One thing in my opinion neither did too well was the dance. Now you see, I'm one of those weird people who want events in my book to actually mean something, like forward the plot in some way or work on character development. The dance literally had 2 segments that meant anything. The Ron and Hermione scrap, which was pointless since everyone ships them already, and 2, the pecking incident between Hagrid and Madame Maxime, which, alright, I guess that was significant enough. We can have the dance. However, if we're gonna have it, we're gonna have it my way. Now, the original partners made no sense at all. Fleur went with some random guy from Ravenclaw that nobody knows about. Harry and Ron were with the 2 twins, cause yeah, nobody else was left, lols. And Hermione went with Krum. No, no, and no. In my version, we stick Fleur and Krum together. This actually makes more sense than you might think at first, because remember, once Harry's name was pulled out from the Goblet of Fire, both Madame Maxime and Karkaroff were furious with Dumbledore and thinking up conspiracy theories about how Hogwarts was basically screwing the both of them. Thus, it makes perfect sense for Durmstrang and Beauxbaton to form an alliance against the common enemy that they think is trying to screw them out of the Triwizard Cup. Thus, Fleur dances with Krum, Karkaroff dances with Maxime occasionally glancing at Hagrid because these 2 are the reason that this dance is happening anyways. Ron dances with Hermione. Yes, they're ready, and this will give a great opportunity to show them as an awkward young couple. Make up a story that neither of them could find a partner, and on the day of the dance, Ron is wearing his stupid dress robes, and while dancing, Ron steps on Hermione's foot and almost strangles her with his medieval dress robes. Don't tell me that you can't picture it, and don't tell me that you don't love it. The rest were fine mostly. Cho Chang and Cedric are cool, and you know who Harry's partner's gonna be, right? I mean, come on, it's pretty obvious. That's right, no one. Yes, the age-old story of the famous guy with no friends. If we're gonna do the dance, we're gonna use it as a metaphor to show Harry's current social situation. Everyone loves him, but no one really has the space in their social circle to fit him in. Thus, before the dance, upon being instructed to find a partner by McGonagall, Harry searches frantically. He approaches Cho Chang. "Oh, sorry, but Cedric already asked me out. And he's got better hair than you." He approaches Parvati and Padma. "Sorry, Seamus and Dean asked us." And neither of them have a snake-faced, no-nosed man trying to kill them in their dreams. He approaches that Hufflepuff girl from Herbology who's named no one knows because, let's be honest, she's a Hufflepuff. "Sorry, Hufflepuff guy from Herbology already asked me whose name no one knows because, let's be honest, he's also from Hufflepuff." Thus, the night of the dance, slow music is playing, the hall is dressed at its best, so are the ladies with their hands in their respective gentlemen's. Only one gentleman's hand is empty as he sits in a corner, smiling and nodding at people as they give him a thumbs up from a distance. He doesn't have anybody at his side, but at least everybody's rooting for him, right? That makes up for it. That is, until in an empty gaze, his eyes fall on a fair maiden across the hall. One who seems to be just as lonely as him. One who looks at him and smiles back. No points for guessing. One Ginny Weasley. Look, I'm only 4 books deep, but a trouble with reading a very popular series is that you know a lot of spoilers, like the fact that these two are going to kiss in the next book. I'm just starting the fireworks a little early. Well, one thing, Chenmei, don't know if you know this, but third years were not allowed in the dance. Oh really? Why not? Exactly. Harry looks at Ginny and smiles back and then breaks off eye contact. Surely this is a bad idea, right? He thinks to himself. Dancing with my best friends? Wait, what best friend? Still, this could only mean trouble, right? If... Hi, Harry. Harry jumps up as he realizes that Ginny was standing right next to him. Oh, hi, Ginny. Here alone? He asked, although regretting it immediately. No, Ginny replied quickly, turning red. Then, after a while of awkward silence, she asked, Has Ron come back from the washroom? I'm sorry? Harry asked in confusion. Oh, I thought you saw. Ron actually tore his dress robes and he had to rush to the loo lest he was to get embarrassed by his clothes. More than he already was, you mean? Harry retorts, and both him and Ginny share a laugh. Okay, well, Ginny starts. Care to dance? And there it is. Doesn't need to be any more complicated. The music is still slow, the hall is still dressed in its best, but the moment feels strangely much more magical, even for Hogwarts, as Harry slows slowly with his hand in Ginny's and his other arm around her waist. In the background, we can show Hagrid and Maxime piecing out to find some private time for themselves. As Harry is enjoying the night, he looks back on everything that has happened to him throughout this year. How he had to compete in a competition that he did not compete in, how tough it has been without Ron, and now here he is, dancing in public. With Ron's sister. This is not correct. This should not be happening. What will happen if... At this moment, Harry feels a strong shove from behind and then someone pulling him away from Ginny. Before he has a chance to say anything, he sees Ron's face, who punches him flush in the face, and scene. Next, we see Harry sitting in the hospital wing, applying ice to his wounded, bleeding face as a tear rolls down his eyes. Not because the wound hurts, he has been through worse, but because the differences between him and Ron now seem at a point that they seem irreversible. They have never been worse. Of course, they actually aren't irreversible, since all of this has just been building up to the second task. Here, before the second task, Neville hands Harry the gillyweed, as Harry is probably thinking that he has to rescue his firebolt, which honestly I thought was what was going to happen initially as well, but then, because I'm a horrible writer, Harry actually saves Ron. Cedric saves Cho, Fleur saves her sister, or, tries to. You can actually keep the part where Harry ended up saving her because that actually helped the plot. It solved differences between Hogwarts and Beauxbaton, which was sort of the point of the tournament, strengthening international relations. And finally, Krum saves, some Durmstrang bloke who is his brother from another mother. Kinda uninspiring, I know, and while Krum and Hermione does offer a bit of spice to the situation, they never actually went anywhere with it in the end. Even from the start, you knew this was never going to happen. Krum is some international Quidditch playing bloke with a villain for a headmaster who is introduced in book 4, whereas Hermione is the closest thing that we have to a goddamn main heroine. Of course she isn't going to fall for him. So scrap that, everyone saves the person that they valued the most, and after this, Ron realizes that not only Harry saved his life, but after all their differences, he is still the most valuable person to him. Thus, it makes 1,000 times more sense for Ron to forgive Harry right now than instead of, randomly after he runs around with a dragon chasing him. Thus, after that, we can have the tear jerking reunion of the two because I feel like the rest of the book had enough substance and focus on forwarding the plot, anyways. So, that's that, I guess. This had been a bit of a different video than my usual stuff, but my goal was to really just spice up the middle portion of the book that I, honestly on the whole, thoroughly enjoyed, with just this timeline leaving me with a little bit more to desire. So, hope you liked it. Yours truly, with love.